This Week in Destiny has just released for November 22nd, 2023. Thursday tomorrow is Thanksgiving in the US, so Bungie is releasing the TWID one day early. And within it, we get a ton of information. The newest collab with the Witcher series bringing a new armor set to Destiny 2 next season. The new seasonal artifact and its perks. Changes coming to abilities next season, and to many exotic armor pieces. Fireteam Finder Beta, Destiny 2 expansions on sale, and much more. Yesterday, Bungie released this image right here showing a crossover between the Witcher series and Destiny. Now, of course, you're likely going to have to pay silver for these armor sets, unfortunately, which sucks, but in my opinion, they do look pretty cool. Geralt of Rivia, of course, is the gear focus for this latest collaboration. They'll share more details about it and show off a trailer very soon, but for now we have this epic image. Next, let's take a look at the new seasonal artifact for Season of the Wish, so you can start thinking about your builds and planning ahead of time. The focus this time is on 3 elements: Solar, Strand, and Stasis. There's also a focus on rocket launchers, some new and very strong perks around ignitions and shatter, and even some beloved perks making a comeback. All in all, the Queen's Foil sensor allows for several outstanding combinations. So first up, the thing looks pretty cool and obviously has to do with the Awoken. Queen's Foil Censer, and the definition of censer, a container in which incense is burned, typically during a religious ceremony. Now I'm going to read through these really quick. You can pause and take a look at the image if you like and skip ahead. In column 1 we have Anti-Barrier Sidearm, Unstoppable Hand Cannon, Unstoppable Bow, Overload Auto Rifles, Overload Pulse Rifle. Column 2, Flame Fiber and Freeze, combines the Solar/Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mods into one. Kindling Trigger, Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. Blast Radius, rapid final blows with rocket launchers and grenade launchers grant armor charge. Origin Perk Specialization 1, improves the benefits provided by Sundering, Nanomunitions, and Nanotech Tracer rocket origin traits. Additionally, weapons with these traits are always overcharged. And From Whence You Came, increases ability damage to taken and scorned combatants. For column 3, Flint Striker, rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grant Radiant. Torch, while Radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuffs. Heart of the Flame, casting your solar super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. Origin Perk Specialization 2, improves the benefits provided by the Noble Deeds, Unsated Hunger, Head Rush, and Dragon's Vengeance origin traits. Additionally, weapons with these traits are always overcharged. Wished into Being, while your super is nearly fully charged, ability final blows spawn orbs of power. Wearing Season of the Wish armor decreases super amount threshold. Column 4, Unraveling Orbs, picking up an orb of power grants Strand weapons unraveling rounds. Pillar of Ice, killing an encased combatant spawns stasis crystals. Revitalizing Blast, causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. Overload Rocket Launchers, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Dragon's Bite, breaking a combatant shield with a Strand or Stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. Wearing Season of the Wish armor increases the chance. And for column 5, Horde Shuttle, damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. Hail the Storm, shattering encased targets and stasis crystals deals increased damage. Shattering a stasis crystal releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. Rays of Precision, while Radiant, solar precision final blows cause combats to ignite. Solo Operative, while you are the only member of your fire team, you deal increased damage to all combatants. And Argent Ordnance, firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. So there you have all the artifact perks. You can now prepare your builds and get ready for next season. Let's next talk about ability changes coming next week. The main goals are as follows: ensuring that abilities, particularly those in our longer cooldown tiers, are meeting our intended cost to output ratio. Reducing causes of player survivability that exceed our power bar, making the first steps at Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn tuning, and taking a tuning pass on Stasis abilities, with more to come in the future. Bungie say they've laid this out a number of times in previous posts, but it's worth repeating. They believe that powerful abilities need to come at a meaningful cost to the player to force difficult decisions about what fits best in their build. To put it plainly, they're not hitting that goal. With Season of the Wish in Update 7.3.0, the base passive cooldown tiers for abilities will also influence the amount of chunk energy they receive from perks. For the fastest charging abilities, things are not changing. But as we progress through the passive cooldown tiers into the slower charging abilities, that immediate burst of energy will be reduced to a floor 50% of base for our slowest charging grenade and class abilities, and 60% for our slowest charging melee abilities. So some perks provide too much energy, making abilities with longer cooldowns recharge too quickly and upsetting the game's balance. So faster charging abilities won't see a change, but slower ones will get less energy from perks. The goal is to balance the game better without making the current builds obsolete, and they plan to keep adjusting the system based on player feedback. Next up, Bungie is making some changes to player survivability in challenging content. Players are too resilient, making it hard to balance difficulty. The changes aim to find a middle ground between making players too strong and forcing them to rely solely on long-range attacks. First up, changes to Woven Mail. Previous PvE damage resistance reduced from 55 to 45%. For Restoration, reduced healing rate at Restoration ×1. You can see the old versus new values. They also did the same for Restoration ×2. And for Devour, healing reduced from a full heal to 100 HP, except when the Feed the Void is equipped. More consistent health and shield refills, and Feed the Void now also improves Devour's healing strength and increases grenade energy per kill. Season of the Wish will also make changes to sprint and slide melee attacks to balance gameplay. Previously, abilities like Shield Bash, Seismic Strike, and Hammer Strike couldn't one-shot players as part of the policy to ensure players' abilities have significant risk or skill requirements. However, players found a workaround by sliding, shooting, then performing a shoulder charge or slide melee for a one-shot kill. To address this, firing a weapon while sliding will now disable sprint or slide-activated melees. This change affects various melee abilities like Seismic Strike, Shield Bash, Hammer Strike, and some others. Additionally, Tempest Strike's potency is being increased with higher base damage and improved tracking and consistency. This is part of ongoing efforts to maintain fair and balanced gameplay. Some Titan changes with Bonk Hammer and Banner of War. With Season of the Wish, they're making a change to slow down the charge progression, increasing the number of defeats required to level the banner up at each tier. For Banner of War, the number of enemy defeats required to level up the banner is approximately doubled. The time added per enemy defeat at each level is increased to compensate, fixed an issue where unpowered swords were strongly boosted by Banner of War. For a Throwing Hammer, now picking up a Throwing Hammer will return its energy over 1.4 seconds instead of instantly. Projectile tracking strength is increased about 20%. And Soul Invictus modification. Maximum sunspot duration reduced from 20 seconds to 12, and the reduced duration applies when the player is inside the sunspot. The duration remains 5 seconds without the player. These changes aim to balance the Titan's capabilities, ensuring that abilities like the Throwing Hammer and sunspots remain fun without being overpowered. How about you Warlocks out there? For Season of the Wish, the base cooldown times for both Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn are being increased from 417 seconds to 455 seconds. This change aligns them with the cooldowns of burst supers like Blade Barrage or Chaos Reach. The aim is to create more balanced competition in round-based modes and give players better tools to counter these supers under time pressure. Additionally, Bungie plans to further differentiate the gameplay roles of Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn in the future, as they are currently overlapping too much. specifically reducing the dominance of Well of Radiance in PvE and further separate the functionalities of these two supers. More details to come in the future. Let's talk about Stasis changes. In the 3 years since Stasis has been introduced, the game's power dynamics have shifted, prompting a need to update Stasis to keep it competitive. In the upcoming season and the final shape, several quality of life changes and reevaluations of Stasis abilities are planned to align them with the game's current power levels. Here's some summarized key changes. Fragment suite adjustments. Some stat bonuses and penalties are removed or tweaked to improve underperforming picks. For the Hunter's Withering Blade, increased speed, lifetime, bounce count, and tracking consistency. Winter's Shroud, enhanced effectiveness in PvE with longer slow duration, increased slow attack count, and larger AoE. Titan modifications for Shiver Strike, restores slow effect on hit. Glacial Quake reintroduces freeze on cast with a reduced radius, and Howl of the Storm, improved consistency in freezing targets. For Warlocks, Frost Pulse, increased effectiveness against fast-moving targets, improved network performance, and larger area of effect in PvE. Penumbral Blast, increased detonation size for more consistency. Glacier Grenade, reduced the base cooldown, affecting Bleak Watcher's cooldown too, and Cold Snap Grenade improved reliability with adjustments to seeker creation and tracking strength. Overall, in general, increased damage bonus for special weapons against frozen targets. For the future, introducing a new Stasis keyword called Frost Armor to enhance survivability. Further tuning and reworks of existing Stasis fragments and additional behavior for harvest aspects. These updates aim to enhance Stasis's reliability in combat to ensure it remains a viable choice in the game's evolving landscape. Upcoming exotic armor and armor mod changes. Next season will introduce a series of balancing changes to exotic armor and mods, focusing on enhancing melee-oriented exotics and improving less popular Aeon cult selections for better performance in high-end PvE. These changes are class-specific and designed to increase the utility and attractiveness of certain exotics. For Hunters, Shards of Galanor now grant super energy for throwing knife kills. Ophidia Spaith, knife kills grant a stacking damage bonus. Dodging refreshes this duration. Stompies, remove the full class ability energy requirement for movement bonuses, added PvE airborne damage resistance. Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves, extended sidearm damage bonus after shields begin to recharge, kills reload sidearm. Bombardiers, applies slow stacks to enemies. Triton Vice, increased glaive melee damage bonus, and Celestial Nighthawk, precision kills grant super energy. For Titans, Severance Enclosure, enhanced explosion size and damage, kills trigger additional explosions. Peregrine Greaves, requires brief airborne time before effects apply, enhanced damage and melee energy refund against certain enemies. Worm God Caress, reworked to a decaying meter that boosts melee and weapon damage. Ashen Wake, fusion grenade impacts now stun unstoppable champions. Syntheseps, swapped melee lunge for weapon handling and reload speed, adjusted damage bonuses. And Precious Scars, weapon kills matching your subclass, apply restoration. For the Warlocks, the Wrath Breathers, casting Frost Pulse Rift grants allies Stasis Surge weapon bonus and Overshield. Apotheos Veil, super casting grants Cure, increased regen after super ends. Felwinter's Helm, increased weakening burst size and duration. And Karnstein Armlets, melee kills and finishers grant Cure and Restoration. For the Aeon cult changes, Sect of Force, reworked for bonus weapon damage against powerful combatants, rapid precision hits mark enemies. Sect of Insight now provides super energy instead of weapon damage to allies, and Sect of Vigor adds damage resistance in PvE and recovers class ability energy faster. These changes aim to diversify exotic armor pieces, enhance melee combat options, and improve the effectiveness of Aeon cult sects in group PvE play. For mods, this upcoming update includes adjustments for several of them aimed at balancing the ability-energy economy. These changes are a part of a broader goal to ensure that power and frequency of abilities are balanced and require thoughtful build crafting decisions. Here's a screenshot of all the mod changes. Today, Bungie released the Dev Insights Fireteam Finder beta test first look. This is the in-game LFG feature that will first launch in a beta form, allowing players to test things out before the targeted release in January. They say social features are difficult to prove at scale inside of a studio. You need hundreds of thousands of people to properly test them. Typically, they'll run a Bungie beta for a social feature before it goes live to gain confidence in their releases. In a Bungie beta, they limit access to employees with some aspects of the feature live in the public game for all Destiny 2 players so that they can test it out. In the past, they've done this for cross-save, Bungie Friends List, and crossplay. This time, they're going public with this Bungie beta test with the Fireteam Finder. They say they've made a ton of progress on Fireteam Finder, including many of the unexpected technical challenges, and have come to a fork in the road with a difficult choice to make. 1. Push the release of Fireteam Finder even later, or 2. Have a much more public version of our Bungie beta. They've decided it's better to bring us along for the ride rather than make us wait, and they hope we agree. So let's talk about the Fireteam Finder. Some of the goals for this beta: they want to prove that Fireteam Finder scales to millions of players, protect the start of Season of the Wish and the new dungeon launch, and be nimble, kind of roll this out slowly, see how it does, and then improve over time. There will be a raid stress test November 30th from 9 AM Pacific to 5 PM Pacific. The beta period itself will begin in December, pending the stress test results, and a full release targeted in late January. They kind of give some precautions. There are countless scenarios where they may have to end a test early, so they ask for the community's patience and hope you take it as an opportunity to give early feedback as they work on the game's system's gremlins. Here's how the Fireteam Finder works though. There will be 2 ways to access it. First, from the director using the roster tab, and then using the Fireteam Finder access point found on every activity's launch screen. In both cases, you'll be able to search for a fireteam or create a listing using a series of listing options to specify the group you're trying to build. Some of these screens will look different for the beta versus the final release, as you can see in these 2 images. The first one for the stress test version, and then the second is for the targeted final release. Both the website and companion app will remain available until the new Fireteam Finder, both in-game and out-of-game, is ready to go. So you can use the old systems that are currently there, but the Bungie.net team has been hard at work developing a new out-of-game Fireteam Finder that's fully integrated with the in-game system. However, that's not going to be available during this early beta test. But Guardian, that basically wraps up this news video. For those looking to upgrade their Destiny 2 catalog, they have some good news. Lightfall and other content packs are up to 67% off on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam until November 28th. Starting November 24th, the Bungie store also begins its biggest sale of the year and relaunches some limited quantities of previously retired Bungie rewards. If you'd like to see some more Destiny news, mysteries, and lore like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.